Hey everybody, I am finally back. I know you're probably going, okay, where'd she disappear to? She hasn't done Facebook Live in like 3 weeks. It's just been a busy summer. So I am back finally. I had 2 back-to-back trips that took me clear across the country. Not gonna lie, I had a great time. First week spent a little bit of time in Pittsburgh working with my girlfriend Melissa as her girlfriend and support and, cheering section, who competed at Masters Nationals, which was awesome. She did a great job. And then I spent 5 days in New York City, which, not gonna lie, I had a great time. It was the best ever. So had an awesome time, but I am back. Should be pretty normal from here on out. Have a great topic today. Honestly, was listening to a really great lecture today, or a YouTube video, because I do that when I lift, about, the requirements of starting a new goal and why people struggle so much with it. And I thought, wow, that's a really great topic because, a lot of times we go, okay, why am I having such a hard time reaching my goal? Whether it's just eating a little bit better, or whether it's trying to lose weight, which you know how I feel about that, or whether it's just trying to create a new healthier lifestyle, it is difficult. And we're going to talk today about why that tends to be so difficult. It's hard. Yeah, I mean, it is. And if you've listened to any of my stuff, you kind of know my general thoughts about the process, but there is some more to it. So we're going to talk about that today. Also, just want to really quickly remind you that there will finally be a Meals with Melissa on Sunday at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. I'm pretty excited about that, getting back to some good food and helping you find ways to deal with your cravings in a healthy manner. So that's what we're going to do. But today we're talking about how to really work towards reaching your goals, why it's so difficult, and what you can do about it. So let's talk about the biggest one. Number one, got to make sure I have my notes here. First of all, it requires a lot of energy when you are starting a new goal, especially when it's a health goal, because there's so much involved. When I work with people and I do a goal assessment, which I call it a consultation, but really it's kind of a way to see if, we fit well together, but also to kind of give them kind of a heads up that I don't just work in one sphere of fitness. We take a lot into consideration that it's not just the physical part. There's a mental and emotional part and aspect to it that's going to be really difficult. It's actually harder than the physical part. It's huge, and that there's a lot of things that we have to tackle, and it's not just nutrition, and it's not just the exercise, and it's not just time. There's so much that goes into it, because when you're trying to reach a health goal, you actually have to create a different lifestyle, and it takes time. So one of the things they talked about in the video I was listening to this morning was that especially initially, there is so much energy required in order to do the things necessary to work towards your goal, that a lot of times it can become very, very overwhelming. And that's one of the reasons I really work to try and change 1 or 2 things at a time versus, like a New Year's resolution, let's change it all at the same time and do this in 3 months. It's not sustainable. So part of it is that it's just the energy involved. And I don't know about you, but most of us have jobs, and we have families, and we have stress. It's really difficult to tackle a whole new part of our life in a great big way, and just think that that's not going to require a lot of time and attention. So you have to be mentally and emotionally prepared for the amount of time and energy that it's going to take, no matter what your goal is when it comes to health and fitness, or whatever that involves for you. Okay, number 2, it is a time commitment, because, again, I like to approach it in a couple different ways. I don't just do training, and I don't just do nutrition. I involve a little bit of energy, or a little bit of time commitment in each little, I can't even think of the word today. It's one of those days. In each concept that I'm talking about. So, we discussed that there's going to be a little bit of cardio probably required. There's going to be some strength training required. We're going to have to talk a little bit about nutrition, which, for some of us might be a huge transition, especially, I found when I first started that what I thought was healthy food and healthy eating was really not. And now, of course, looking back at it almost 10 years later, I see that honestly, it just was a lack of education. Part of it is the things that we're fed through social media, through media sources like TV and the internet. There's just a lot of misinformation, and somebody tried to sell you something. So again, you have to be willing to open up your mind and your opinions to some new knowledge, because honestly, even like the myplate.gov is crap, you guys. It just doesn't give you the right information. So you might be thinking that you're doing all these great things, but knowing a little bit more about it requires some time and energy to to learn some new tactics, to learn some new habits. There's definitely a time commitment there. So, and you can start out small. That doesn't mean that it has to be hours and hours a week. It can be 15 minutes a day, but you have to be committed in those 15 minutes a day, and you cannot let anybody else take that time. Number 3, I think one of the biggest issues is that we think the perfection is necessary, especially when we see all of these people on Instagram and look how cute they are. Well, yeah, the girl's 22, doesn't have a job. She's in school for like 2 hours a week. She has the time to live that kind of a lifestyle. Most of us don't do that. I work a full-time job. I'm in school. I do paperwork for my husband's business. I have 5 children. I have a grandchild. And people wonder why I'm trying to get where I'm going when I drive. I don't have that luxury. I have a certain amount of time today. Today my day turned out completely different than expected, and I had 35 minutes to bang out my workout that normally I probably would have given 45 minutes to an hour. It's just the way that my day turned out. So again, you have to think that sometimes just good enough is good enough, right? There are days that I don't think my workout is that great. I had a leg day and man, I just feel like I accomplished nothing. But you know what? A crappy workout's better than no workout at all. So, you're not going to be perfect. I'm not perfect. And I'm not immune to the obstacles and the things that happen to everybody else. Now, I do have different coping skills than I used to, because that's something that I've been able to accumulate as I've worked these, 8 plus 10 years almost of learning to live a healthier lifestyle. But it didn't happen overnight, right? So you're not going to be perfect. You're going to fall off the wagon. You're going to have days that you're going to cry. You're going to show up at the gym and it's cold outside and you're not going to want to go in. Those are the things that happen. Perfection isn't necessary. Consistency is. So keep that in mind. Next is, sometimes we have those unrealistic expectations. Again, I think social media does us such a huge disservice, because we see all these people and we think, well, she's perfect. Well, come on, guys. First of all, filters, right? Second of all, yeah, great. She has one pose. Super great. Make her turn around. That's ridiculous. I've actually seen pictures of people and then I've met them in real life and gone, are you even the same person? So you guys don't compare. But the other thing is that it's going to probably take longer than you think. Your body can't go past what science and biology can do. And so, yeah, somebody comes to me and says, well, can I lose 30 pounds in 1 month? Technically, probably, but you might be dead. And number 2, I am not the coach to do that. So again, you have to be realistic, because even if you could biologically or physically do that, you probably can't mentally and emotionally handle the rigors of what it's going to take to get to that point. And again, as most of us know, that's the hard part, is our head, right? So be careful about assuming, your body doesn't work linearly. Like, you don't lose 1 pound a week, even if you have a 500 calorie deficit every day. Your body, it has so many more variables that it has to deal with. Your DNA, your genetics, your environment, what you've done for the last 3 decades. There's so much more that plays a role there. So you can't count on things happening exactly as you expect it to. You're going to have to deal with the things as they come up. And you might have to see your primary care provider, get some testing done, some blood work done, figure out what's going on. How are your hormones? How is your adrenals? There's a lot more to it. So don't get frustrated. Be a problem solver and a troubleshooter. That's kind of what I do as a coach. And it's not because I know everything. Sometimes I just know the right direction to send people in order to figure it out. And the next is, this is a big one, guys. Sometimes you haven't really decided that the trade-off is worth it. It's not going to be easy. I don't care what your goal is. If you're trying to do something new, and even if you were an athlete in school, and let's say high school, and you're now 40 years old and thinking that you can go back to that time, you're not the same age and your body is not going to respond the same. You have a different variable involved, which is you're now 40, not 15. So again, it's okay. Like, that's part of how it works. But you're going to have to decide, well, because I've heard people say things like, well, I'm just not willing to give up beer. Okay, well, then you're not going to reach your goal, because if your goal is A, and to get to A, you have to go through these steps. And one of them is you're probably going to have to cut out some alcohol, especially if you're drinking on a daily basis. And you're not willing to do that, then you're not going to. I've had people actually say that to me. I'll do whatever you say, except for I'm not going to stop drinking. Then you better pick a different coach, because you're asking me to get you to a place and I'm telling you what to do or how to get there. I'm trying to coach you to do the right thing. The trade-off is you're going to have to do these things. So whether that's you're going to have to trade off your time watching reruns of Game of Thrones because you need to spend a half an hour at the gym every day, that might be your trade-off. I don't know what that is for you, but you're going to have to decide, when is it worth it? Now, one of the best quotes I ever heard was that you will remain the same until the pain of remaining the same is greater than the pain of change. And I love that because honestly, I've heard people say, well, I really, really want it bad. However, they're just comfortable where they are. They want that pizza. They want that beer more than they really want to look good and feel good. So, when people kind of try to make me feel guilty, which I don't because I've been doing this long enough, and they'll say things like, well, you want that pizza, just grab that pizza. You know what? If it doesn't fall within my goals right now, that's not something I'm going to do. So you can tell me to do it, but the trade-off is worth it for me. So the other thing, the last one I want to talk about today is that you probably haven't built the right environment. It's very, very difficult, and I get it. Like sometimes it's our family that's our peer pressure, great friends. But if you've heard the term that you become like the 5 people closest to you, it is 100% true. It's why they tell drug addicts and alcoholics that when they go back into the real world and they get out of rehab, you don't hang around the people you were hanging around before, because if you do, you are more likely to get back into the situation you were. So you may have to build a new environment, and that might include, I get it, sometimes you can't change your family, right? But you may have to find new ways to deal with the situation. I had friends that just stopped asking me to do stuff, partially because, at the time I couldn't, whether that was eating out or drinking, whatever. And partially because I thought I was judging them. I'm like, I'm not judging anybody. I just want you to be happy with you. But people make assumptions, and you know what that does. That makes an ass out of you and I. But anyway, so again, part of it is just making sure you have the right people around you, and you can do that. If you go to the gym, you start to make friends at the gym, especially if you go at the same time every day, you start to see the same people every day. So not a bad thing. When I first moved into the city I live in, it took me a good almost 8 months to make friends. I was in competition prep at the time, so that tells you a lot. But my first friends were at the gym because that was the one thing I did on a daily basis, and I tended to do it at the same time. It created that habit. That's how I met new people. And now the majority of the people around me, in one way or another, are in a fitness lifestyle. Whether it's my kids, because they watched mom do it for a while, and so now they've jumped in. Whether it's my friends, my clients that become my friends, I'm surrounded by that. So it's a much easier deal to stay within what I choose to do and my goals than if I was hanging around people that were always eating unhealthy foods. Now, I'm a foodie, I'm gonna admit, but my philosophy is if I'm gonna eat it and have to work it off, it better be the best food I've ever had. So I don't do a whole lot of eating out unless first of all, I've earned it. And second of all, it better be amazing. Right? Okay, so a couple tips in order for you to get around this. Number 1, you might have to seek some professional help, whether that's a coach, whether that's a trainer. I would pick somebody who understands your circumstances. If you're 50 and a woman and hitting menopause, please do not go to the 22-year-old. Bless his heart, I know he's working hard, but if he has no idea how my body works, there's no benefit there. Now, I've had some coaches that know a woman's body. They know how it works. They know how to work with that. But I'm going to tell you the majority of them did not. So, make sure that you are picking something that works for you, that has experience in where you're trying to go. I think that's super important. But honestly, even the coach still uses a coach because I need that extra, not just guidance, because I'm kind of at the point where I know what to do. I personally need the accountability. And maybe that's another step for you as well. Number 2, learn to put things on your schedule and plan them. Right? So if you made a doctor's appointment, you're going to show up because you made the doctor's appointment for a certain time, a certain day. And if you need that appointment, you're going to be there. Do the same thing with whatever your goal is. So if it's hitting the gym more often, or even just going for a walk, or going for a walk on your lunch break because that's the only time that you have, write it in, and then don't let anything else, write it in pen. Don't just use your phone, guys. Get a planner, write it in pen. Makes it too hard to erase and write over. When I know that I need some time for myself, I actually write my workouts in every day, the time that I'm going to do them, because sometimes it's really hard to fit it in considering how busy I am. And then I don't let people take my time. That's just how it rolls, because my workout is more important than, not that they're not important or I don't appreciate them as my clients, but what kind of an example would I be if I didn't fulfill my own goals in order to help them reach theirs? right? I just have to be a good example. Surround yourself with like minds. So if you're not currently hanging around people that have a similar goal, you need to find some people that have a similar goal. And that might require that you have to go out and be uncomfortable and meet new people. Now, I'm an introvert, so I get it. Like, I'm uncomfortable in rooms of people I don't know. But that being said, because I've been in the industry for a little while, I'm much more confident about it, and I'm okay talking to somebody new. And I like having like-minded people with me because, well, let's face it, I like to talk about nutrition. So that's part of it. But you might have to make an effort in order to do that, and it might take some time. So be patient with yourself. And last but not least, please remember, it takes time. It's not going to happen overnight. I tell people that I prefer it take a long time for them to reach their goal, solely because the longer it takes for you to get there, the longer you're more likely to stay there. Because whatever you do to get there, you have to keep doing. And it takes a while to build in those habits. Remember that change is uncomfortable, and as human beings, we don't like that feeling. We don't want to be uncomfortable. So we tend to go back to old habits because it's a comfort thing. So you're going to have to be okay with being uncomfortable for a little while, letting those changes happen. Now, I started lifting and strength training in 2011. Now I can't imagine myself without it. When I went to New York City, before I even got there, I had to find a local gym. Man, they're kind of expensive there. And the one that I did find wasn't too bad, but it was a teeny tiny space. It was really weird. But I did that before I even got there. I made sure my room had a refrigerator in there. I know how to travel that way. So I've gotten to the point where it's just second nature, but it took a while. If you looked at my lifestyle even 3 years ago, totally different than how I live right now, because as I learn something new, I build upon it and move forward. So hopefully that helps. You know, if you've been through this process and you have some ideas, please share them down below, leave some comments, because you know, we're all kind of trying to help each other at this point. That's what I love about, the best part about social media is that we can help each other. It's a collective. We can give each other information, and send, you know, if you know something that works for you that I've never thought of, share it, because then we share it with multiple people and then it becomes a real thing and it helps people. And that's why we're here. We want to support each other because I am your biggest fan. So have an incredible night, you guys. Again, Sunday, there will be a Meals with Melissa. I haven't 100% decided what I'm making. It's got to be yummy, because at this point, now that I'm back from New York, I am back on plan and I'm hungry. So have an incredible week, you guys. Have a good night, and we'll see you next week for Q&A Wednesday. Have a good night now.